What's up guys, welcome to Freedive Passion. Today I'm going to talk to you about CO2 tables. So first I'll explain what a traditional CO2 table is. In a classic CO2 table, the breath hold stays the same, the time between the breath hold reduces, and you're doing repetitions of each. So you will do a 2-minute breath hold with 2 minutes in between 4 times, 2-minute breath hold, 1 minute 30 in between 4 times, and so on and so on. The idea is before each breath hold, as you get less and less time to breathe in between, you start each breath hold with a higher amount of carbon dioxide. So although the breath hold time is staying the same, the breath hold feels more challenging. The assumption of CO2 tables is that the best way to train carbon dioxide is by experiencing high levels of carbon dioxide and kind of suffering as much as possible. But personally, I like to approach CO2 training in a different way. You can break down a breath hold into 3 stages when it comes to your CO2. The first stage would be when you don't feel any signs of carbon dioxide. So this will be the start of the breath hold, and this can be when you're the most relaxed. You don't need to fight, there's no funny feelings, there's nothing. You're just lying there and you don't feel any signs of carbon dioxide buildup. The next stage would be your carbon dioxide buildup. So this is where you first start to feel the rising levels of CO2. You would first notice that you're holding your breath and start to feel these feelings. Now, it's going to be a slow build-up. You're going to feel more and more things, and at this point can be quite overwhelming. But when you start to train more and build more awareness around here, you can extend this longer and longer. And in the beginning, a lot of people, before you reach this peak, they would have already quit their breath hold. And the point where you would start to lose your relaxation, where you would start to get contractions, in the beginning it might be around here because you're not used to what this feels like. But once you get used to how it feels to come to here, you can take yourself a little bit further, and a little bit further, and a little bit further. And that's the point in training this section of your carbon dioxide buildup. The next stage would be the tough stage. You feel this buildup, you feel like your carbon dioxide is getting higher and higher, you're starting to feel more and more uncomfortable. Most people then start to breathe, especially beginners, because they just imagine it's gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse because it's feeling more and more uncomfortable as you come along here. But what happens is the feeling just plateaus and you just feel the same in the end. Okay, it doesn't feel good, it feels uncomfortable, you've got contractions, you want to breathe, but you can use your mental toughness to not breathe. But the feeling stays pretty much the same, and it's just a question of toughing it out and not breathing. So we call this the tough stage, where you should be getting contractions. For me, when I train carbon dioxide, it's very much about just getting to know these feelings around here. Because the more intimate you are with them, the more you understand them, the more you experience them, the less likely you are to react, to panic, to lose your relaxation, to start to get contractions. So you can push this comfortable period further and further into your breath hold before you reach the tough stage where you need to fight and fight to get through the breath hold. So this takes a degree of understanding and a degree of patience, because it takes time to get through the no CO2 stage, and it takes time to build up to this tough stage. So if you're not used to how long it takes, if you're not used to doing longer breath holds and really putting off the negative feelings, putting off the contractions, then you're not going to be able to do it. And the only way to train that, the only way to get used to how long it should take until you feel the first signs of carbon dioxide, then how long you can go past that point before you start feeling uncomfortable and having contractions, the only way to do that is to start each dive or each breath hold with the same amount of carbon dioxide. The problem with carbon dioxide tables is it messes that up. On the first breath holds, if you start with 2 minutes, then probably you are starting with a neutral level of carbon dioxide, so this still kind of works. But then as you start to reduce the times, each breath hold, you'll have more carbon dioxide than the last. So maybe towards the end, you're not going to have no carbon dioxide when you start. You're already going to start with some levels of discomfort. And you just don't get the chance to enjoy the breath hold, to learn about all these feelings, to be patient and wait for it to come on, rather than getting nervous and letting it come on sooner than what it would do otherwise. So it seems like the point of CO2 tables is just teaching you how to fight. And in freediving we say everything's about relaxation, building awareness, but then we teach this CO2 table, which only teaches you that breath hold training has to be hard, breath hold training has to be uncomfortable, and it's nothing about relaxation at all actually. So for me, the CO2 tables, it doesn't make any sense. Of course, sometimes you do have to learn how to fight. If you're interested in longer breath holds and deeper dives, there's going to be a point where you reach higher levels of CO2, this tough stage, and you can't let that freak you out. So the more you experience it, the less likely it is to freak you out, and you can stay calm and relaxed in that situation. But there's a time and there's a place, and there's a level of efficiency that you need to think about. And there's way more efficient ways to train this tough stage of your CO2 without doing CO2 tables. So for instance, you are at a period of your training or your periodization where you do want to train the tough stage of your breath hold, then why would you spend 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes, 1 minute, even 30 seconds breathing between the breath holds? Why not just take 1 or 2 breaths between the breath holds? It's enough to reoxygenate yourself, so you don't need to worry about blackout, but you'll still start the next breath hold with a high level of CO2, and you'll reach this tough stage much sooner. Freediving and freedive training is reaching a new level of understanding and a new standard of training. So these CO2 tables are kind of going away with the dinosaurs, I believe, because it's just not specific. You're not training anything specifically, and you're not training anything really efficiently. You're not training the level where you have no CO2, you're not training yourself to put off the contractions, and you're not training yourself to go through the tough stage in the most efficient way possible. So it's just like a general way to train without any sort of purpose or direction. The other thing that I find annoying about CO2 tables is the kind of belief which it's instilled into people that in order to do CO2 training, there needs to be the reduction in the time between breath holds. So this is nonsense. Every time you experience high levels of CO2, you're training your CO2. Whether that's in an O2 table, you're doing longer breath holds, for sure, you're going to have a CO2 rise. If you're doing max static, you're experiencing CO2, you're training CO2. If you're doing a series of short breath holds, you're holding your breath, your CO2 is rising, you're training CO2. Even if you're doing pranayama with slow breathing, your CO2 levels are going to rise and you're training CO2. Once you start to understand the basic principles of carbon dioxide, how it affects your body, how your breath affects your carbon dioxide, and how breath holds will affect your carbon dioxide, plus how you can also build a tolerance, then if you combine that with a basic understanding of volume, intensity, periodization, you can come up with your own training principles, your own training tables, which are going to be much more effective and personalized to you. There's no need to just keep repeating these same CO2 tables which you get taught in your whatever, AIDA, SSI, PADI, whatever course it is. They're super old school and they can go away with the dinosaurs, okay? Freediving's moving into a new era and we can come up with some smarter ways to train than this. If you want to know more about how to train this beginning and middle period of your CO2 tolerance, you can check out my last video that I put out that's talking specifically about this, and it gives you a training exercise to do to start to increase your tolerance in this area. If you want to know about how to build on the tough stage and do some more challenging tables, then stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll be putting out a video in the next week or two. If you like Facebook or Instagram, then you can follow me on that and see what I'm up to more day to day with my coaching. And until next time guys, take it easy and dive safe.